Welcome back, guys. I had a request to do a video in regards to things that might be mistakes people are doing when they go and buy a car. So, obviously, you've seen some of my videos. You know that I was in car sales for quite a while as a fleet manager at Ford. I also was a pretty good salesman with GM for a while. So, I did GMC, Silverado, Buick, everything Chevrolet. And I was also in part of Chrysler, Ram, Dodge, and Jeep. So sold a lot of those cars. I didn't stay in that business because it's most of it's commission based, and you need to be able to, I guess, make the best of other people's money while you're busy making your own money. And I don't want to be that person, and I didn't couldn't keep up the pace. So coming from that business, though, not all dealers are going to be shady. Not all dealers are going to try and take you for the best they are, but they're there to make money, and you shouldn't be surprised about that. So, I'm going to give you 5 things you need to do when you're ready to go purchase your next car, your next truck, your next RV, or whatever. This is going to be across the same board. These things are going to work for you in both directions. So, number one, the biggest mistake is going into a car dealership and not knowing what you want to spend on your monthly vehicle payment. Now, that's just going to be your car payment. You are going to have insurance. You're going to have fuel. You're going to have everything else. Now, they say that some people spend 12 to 15% on their monthly payment of their gross income. Now, your gross income is your total income without your taxes and everything coming out of it, your benefits, your retirement. I would say that's more than likely in today's market, 10 to 20% of what people spend. So, if you're going to make, say, gross 5K a month, you're probably going to spend between 10% of that would be 500 and 20% of that would be 1,000. And so you need to make sure that you go in there so the dealer doesn't get you in there and say, okay, well, you like the car, so what do you want your monthly payment to be? Don't let them set that. You need to be able to do that and know what you want. So what I like to do is I'm going to show you this website. Find your budget. You can go to carpaymentcalculator.net. They make a ton of these where there's a little icon here for budget, common rates, and loan. Now sometimes they don't keep these rates up to date, but you can kind of get an idea based on your credit score. And so as part of this, make sure you're monitoring your credit score so you know when you go in there what you can afford to buy. So it's your best interest when you go in and talk to the dealer. If you haven't talked to the guy before and you haven't discussed payments, don't let them wrangle you into a payment range. Go in there and just say, I like the Ford Explorer or whatever car it is, and this is the price point I think it's going to be in. Now, you also need to be realistic. So obviously, you can see right here, $55,000 car. You can plug in all your own parameters. $10,000 down payment. Know your tax rate because you're going to pay taxes on that vehicle. And then the month of term you want to get or whatever. And you can manipulate these a little bit to change it. If you want to do an 84 month to see how it changes the payment. It'll automatically calculate. If it doesn't, you can refresh or calculate. You can see right here how much sales tax is going to be on that at 8.5%. Money down, total cost of interest to use $10,000 at a what's plugged in here, a 6% APR. So right now APRs are kind of crazy. So you can kind of play with this. So you need to have realistic expectations. You want to know what you feel comfortable putting down. You need to know your value of your trade. So again, this is a big thing. Buying a car is the second biggest purchase you're going to do versus buying a house. So you can use carpaymentcalculator.net. All right. Once you've done that, that kind of covers it. That way you know what you're going to spend, because a lot of people will go in, they get enamored with the car, and the next thing they know, they're in too high of a payment. They can't pay for it, and it breaks the bank. And it ruins your credit if you have to let that car, you don't let it go back. If it gets repossessed and they have to sell it at auction, it's just going to crush your credit. And they're still going to come at you for the negative deficit of that vehicle. So know your budget, know what you want to spend and what you can afford. And there are payment calculators out there, knowing that if you want a $400 a month payment or a $300 a month payment, it'll tell you what kind of car and price range you should be going and looking at. All right. All right. Mistake number 2, not doing your research on the dealership that you're going to visit and or finding a salesman prior to that. So because we all have different personalities, different kind of salesmen are going to be completely different and more in tune with some buyers. So a lot of young salespeople, and this isn't a bad thing, they're out there to make their money, to get their name out there. They might be a little more aggressive. That might come off as a little bit unpopular with you. So my suggestion is there's a website out there called Car Dealer Reviews, and I'm going to show you that. And you can find it at dealerrater.com. And here you can go in and you can go up to the search bar right here and you can type in any dealership that you want. And you can see right down here, service reviews, cars for sale, blah, 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 dealer reviews. If you want to just kind of go basic, you can even write reviews after you've had your experience at the dealership. So I go to search and I search Foundation Chevrolet out in Wheat Ridge, Colorado. I like those guys. They've been fair to me when I've talked to them and dealt with them. But from here, you can find out of 870 some reviews, they got a 4.5 out of 5-star review. Okay, that's pretty good. A 2021 consumer satisfaction award, that's really good. Now you can find out even more by going in here and finding out specifics about different salesmen and different areas where people had issues. You can even filter right here and go only negative. And then you can find out if some of these are like newer or older, what they pertain to. You can read their whole review. So I like that aspect of it because at the end of the day, you really need to go in there and a lot of these people that write reviews about the specific salespeople will give you a good leg to stand off. If one specifically was really laid back and good with, say, younger people or older people, one that made you feel comfortable, you might like that, and you go in and pick who you want to work with. Now, there is always word of mouth. If your friends or neighbors happen to have went out there and had a good experience, you can send them back to them. And that works great. That's always good. But if you don't have that, then this is another avenue that you can use in addition to just Google reviews. All right. So number 3, I would say it's probably not test driving the actual vehicle you're going to buy. Now that seems kind of silly, but I've actually done it once in my life. I'll never do it again. But sometimes you'll be at a dealership and you like this version of the car. You like everything about it except for you want to have one other thing and happen to be a different color. And then they find one and they're like, oh, we got this one right here. We can just go ahead and do the paperwork on it. You need to go drive that car. Because even 2 exact Ford Explorers are going to have some differences. One might have a rattle that you need to get addressed before you buy it. You might find a scratch on the dash. This is your time that if it's the exact car and you're going to spend your hard-earned money on it, then make sure you go and test drive it. Okay, because once you sign on the dotted line, it becomes a warranty issue, and if it's not a warranty issue, it could just be something you're going to live with for the rest of your ownership of the vehicle. So, test drive the car. Even after you've settled on one of them, go back and test drive it again. If you drive one and then you drive another one, you're like, I think I like the other one. Go back and drive the other one more time. They're gonna let you do it, and you owe it to yourself if you're gonna spend again 10% to 20% of your income over the next 5, 6, 7 years. So make sure you go and test drive the car you're going to get. All right. Another big thing, and this will go for families, truck buyers, everything like that, businesses, is the biggest mistake is people don't think further than just a few years down the road. All right. So think big picture when you buy your next car or truck, meaning you might be a young family and you're in a fun, sporty young thing, and all of a sudden you need a car seat in there. So you think, well, I'll just get this 4-door Jeep Cherokee. It's going to be big enough. Well, Jeep Cherokees are traditionally a little small in the middle row, and you guys want to have another kid, or with more kids, and then you need a 3-place stroller. You need 4 diaper bags or whatever, and all of a sudden 2 years later you're in there trying to retrade again. So if you can kind of look further down the road to decide, okay, well, what are our plans with this in the future? Now, if you just like a new car every year, then go lease whatever you want and do whatever you need to do. And if it fits your needs, then you know your needs best. But I would suggest that a lot of people just get enamored with the process and the thought of having the new car, that they're like, oh, I could just leave out this and leave out that and leave out the cameras. And then, all of a sudden you're 2 years down the road and you wish you had more room, more tech, more safety stuff, something to that effect. And you're buried into this vehicle. So again, make sure you think big picture. Now, also this goes for truck owners. Okay, you're in a Jeep Grand Cherokee pulling a tent trailer, and you think, well, I'm just going to go ahead and upgrade to this F-150, knowing full well you want to get a larger trailer that may put that F-150 at max, or your family's going to grow and you're going to need a bigger camper. It's even though trucks hold their value very well, it makes more sense to buy something just a little bit more. And I always say on my truck videos, get a truck that does 10 to 20% more than what you need, because then you're covered if you do upgrade up to the max. Now, if you decide to go way above that, then obviously you're going to have to change that, but your needs will change. But it'll be much easier of a change and less times you do that, changing that up. So just keep that in mind. Think bigger picture and think a few years down the line where your needs may need to be, because your financial situation, the market may be different, where you're just kind of stuck with that car. So try and think much further than just the end of your nose. All right, and last but not least, this is going to come down to a lot of things, whether it be leases or finances, and this is how you're going to get out of this car. All right. Now, a lot of people don't think that, but the average consumer changes their cars every 3 years, 36,000 miles. So a lot of people say, well, I'm going to keep this car for 1,000,000 miles. You may. Most likely you won't, because, again, just like the last thing I said, you're going to need change. Something financially happens, you got to downgrade or whatever. So think of your strategy to get in the car and enjoy it, but also how you might have to handle getting out of it. And that means when you buy a car for, say, $40,000 and you have an 8.5% tax rate, you're going to put roughly $3,500 right on top of that vehicle. That's your upside down already. So now you're already buried in the car at $3,500. And the market right now is dictating MSRP, which is already more than what you would want to ever pay. Back 5-6 years ago, you would always pay less than MSRP, unless it was a specialty car. But now that's kind of everything. So you're already kind of losing there, and then you're going to tack on your taxes. Anything they sell you in, your finance department, whether it be a warranty or service packs or whatever, all of that is now on that top of that. And some of that is not cancelable, and some of it is not transferable. So you're just paying for it. So say you want to trade that car in 2 years and you didn't use much of the service pack or even the warranty, well, all of a sudden it's not refundable. Some of these are, but some of them are not. So you need to make sure, because this is all going to be your upside down. I've seen some people go into knowing what their payment was, and they come out of financing, well, I bought the warranty and I bought this. And I'm not saying those are bad. You got to have what your comfort level exists. But then 2 months later, they call me and say, well, my payment, you told me my payment was going to be this. And by the time I left finance, it was another $250. Well, I'm not sure what happened there, but bringing your paperwork, look, well, they go in and buy all this stuff, plus they added their taxes. You're going to pay tax on those packages that they sell you. So, that being said, so now if you want to have a new car that every 3 or 36, leasing probably may be your best option, because unfortunately right now at the market selling at MSRP, taxes being stacked on that and everything, it's hard to get in there. And they have great leases now that are only 18-month leases, so you could trade your car like every year and a half if you want. So, it's really not a bad deal, but there are fees that are associated with that. So there's different levels of things you have to think big picture about. So that's why when you're in there, before you sign anything, you need to make sure you ask, how do I get out of it? What's early payment penalties, if there is any, this and that. Now, you also need to think of how long you want your term of your loan to be, because you can swing that loan all the way out to 84 months. And I've heard that they're even going in the 100 months now. I haven't seen one. I would never do one. But you saw earlier when I showed you that payment calculator that even on a 6-year loan, you're going to pay almost $10,000 interest at 6%. So, if you're going to finance it for 84 months, I hope you plan on keeping it for 84 months, either way, or you're going to have to get real creative to get out of it, or so you have to put a big chunk down to get out of it. If you carry a trade in there that's going to have negative equity, that's going to be added back onto your loan. The only benefit to that would be you wouldn't pay taxes again on the trade. You just pay the difference between the trade and the actual new vehicle. But that being said, that negative equity you're carrying with you. So a lot of people don't think about it because they think they're way ahead. So I would suggest to you that when you sit down, after you look at your budget, you test drive the car, you do your research on your dealer and everything like that, you've planned out what your future kind of looks like, is sit down and really figure out, if I had to get out of this, how do I lessen it? And, one way you can do it is paying $20, $30 more a month on a just a regular loan. Paying more on a lease doesn't make any sense a month, but paying more on a loan, even like I said, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever you want, you can put on it. And that'll eventually chew down a little bit of that if you'd had to go in and trade it earlier. But a lot of people also used to ding on me for, oh, well, I can take care of my cars, because I said, well, it's a car, it's a tool, it's whatever. Well, that's true, but when at some point I'm going to trade this car, and having it in better condition will help resell, whether it's private or a trade in a dealership. So again, always plan on how you can get out of the vehicle if need be. And if you do lease a vehicle, make sure you take really good care of it, do the maintenance as required, and don't tear seat, dent it or anything like that. But just always think bigger picture. And so I hope that helps you. Again, I want everybody to go out there and get the car that you always dreamed of. I'm here to answer any questions you might have. And just make sure that if you've done those 5 things, I think you'll probably be in good condition. Just make sure you just take a breath before you say anything, and make sure everything works for you. Thanks a lot, guys, for watching. Hit that subscribe and like button, and that notification bell, and we'll see you on the next one.